But in order to enjoy and have a really prosperous career in cybersecurity, you have to enjoy learning new things. Like almost each and every year, whether you're doing another certificate or cybersecurity strategies change, you have to be a lifelong learner. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cyber Revolution podcast. Thanks for joining us yet again. I'm Adam Hewitt, CEO of Cyber Revolution, and today I'm joined by a current student of ours, Saul. Saul, how you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Adam.
Mate, thanks for joining us. Saul is, as I mentioned before, a current student of ours. He's absolutely crushing his studies. He's actually finished all his certifications. And the reason we've got him on is we've been getting a lot of feedback from our listeners. So thank you for doing that in the comments of the podcast, asking for a bit of a different perspective. We always get students on here that we have studied and then have placed, and they talk about their new job in the industry. We're getting Saul on here because he's only just finished his certifications. He's going through our job placement program at the moment. He's applied for a couple of jobs, and so he's yet to get into the industry. That's all in front of him now. So we're going to talk a little bit more about his studies and his, excitement to get into a new career, which I think is going to be a cool little change to what the conversations we usually have. Before we get into all of that, I want to give our new listeners of the podcast a bit of an overview of who this podcast is for, who Cyber Revolution are. So Cyber Revolution, we are Australia's only dedicated cybersecurity training and placement institute. We specialize in finding people their first job in cybersecurity. Over the years, we've been doing this. We've been able to help thousands of people. And the reason that we started a podcast now almost a year and a half ago, 50 episodes in, is we get a lot of people coming to us asking questions about how they can also change careers into cybersecurity. What skills do they need to learn? What certificates do they need to do? Do they need a degree? All of this stuff. There's a lot of common misconceptions about this industry. It's a bit mysterious, even though it's getting more and more airtime over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, I would say. So the point of the podcast is to break down some of those barriers and misconceptions and really educate people on what cybersecurity is and how you can land your first job in the industry. All right. So if that resonates, if it sounds interesting, then this is the podcast for you. All right. So let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning. What were you doing for work when you decided to upskill yourself and change careers into cybersecurity?
Also, for the past 15 years, I've pretty much been a chef. I left school being determined that I wanted to get into hospitality. Well, actually, at the time, it was either between IT or hospitality.
Yep.
And I just enjoyed cooking, and that was it. I did I studied for it for a year, and then I found a job in that. This was in New Zealand at the time. And then, for the last 15 years, I worked from fine dining to pub bistro to cafe to function to, the works. It's been good.
It seems like an amazing industry. I didn't know too much about the hospitality space before, I started Cyber Revolution now almost 4 years ago, but COVID obviously hit 2020. We had a huge influx of chefs and people from the hospitality space reach out to us going, I need to look at changing careers. And we've had a bunch of people, even on the podcast, who are chefs before.
Yeah.
And so I got to have lots of conversations with chefs. I didn't realize how physically taxing it was on your body as a chef. Is that something that you experienced as well?
Yeah, that is true. Standing on your feet for 10, 12 hours a day. But I believe that when it comes down to it, no one talks about the mental aspect of being a chef as well. The amount of criticism and things that we have to go through, as well as not just dealing with customers, but dealing with staff, it can take a toll, especially if you're trying to run a business or, meet certain expectations on things. That's, yes, mentally and physically draining, 100%.
Yeah. This is a kid-friendly podcast, so we probably can't go into too much detail of the criticism that you cop, but I'm assuming if you've ever seen an episode of Gordon Ramsay's show, you can read between the lines. And so, that was one thing. But also, I think, for you, I'd like to know a little bit more about what was the reason you decided to change your careers, because I know a lot of chefs that we've helped absolutely love what they did. They love the industry, but there was something that happened within their life or within their career, or whether it was COVID, that was the impetus for them to make the change. What was it for you? Why cyber?
Like Google listens. And like I said to it, the paragraph beforehand about choosing IT and cookery, when I first left school, I always had the thought in the back of my head that, someday, like, I'll eventually get into IT. Like, there'll be a door that opens, and it'll just be a matter of like having to open that door and do what it takes to do it. And then, yeah, just over the last couple of years with COVID hitting, and then, I just got thinking to myself, like, what direction do I want to go in for myself for the next 10 years? And what can I achieve that is going to be good for myself, for also starting a family or things like that. But yeah, it was like, yeah, literally I was just like on Google, and like ads started popping up about how, cybersecurity analyst, there's going to be a massive influx. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is, this could be fun. And then I think I had a meeting with someone, I don't know if it was you at the time or it was someone else. And it was just an introduction to get a feeling of what could happen and what you can do. And I felt good after it. So I was just kind of like, yeah, no, this is the direction. And I felt like I had purpose. I had more purpose in what I was going to do. So
Brilliant, mate.
it felt good.
I think you're right. Google Analytics or the Facebook algorithms or whatever it might be. That was going to be my next question. Like, how did you come across Cyber Revolution? But I'm assuming that's how it all starts, right? If people go thinking about doing this, they'll Google it, they'll start talking about it, they'll look it up on their phone, and then all of a sudden the algorithms work, and that's what you start seeing. It's definitely not a coincidence.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before that was that the first time you'd actually looked into what cybersecurity is? Was that the first?
Yeah, I did. I didn't really to be honest, I had no understanding of like how in depth like it actually really was. Which was kind of like at the time, like my anxiety levels went through the roof of knowing like, oh my God, like is this it? Like but then it was like, oh, like there's that other excitement of it to be like, oh, the learning aspect. Like let's just give it a go and see where we can end up. Like, yeah.
And what was it that made you decide to join Cyber Revolution all over across over the other training providers?
I don't know. You guys just kind of had like the more bold, better things that just stuck out. Like I read the reviews about what people were saying, how that helped careers. I did my homework just to be like, oh, is this not like something that's just a fake thing that scammers or whatever?
Yep.
I looked into it. I looked into the website. I looked into the reviews. And it all sounded good. And then like, that's what I was saying. Like once I had that other meeting afterwards, it was like, there was clarity of like, okay, so this is where you can go. This is where you can end up.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking before we hit record on the podcast about you listening to some of the podcast episodes, right? As you just started your studies, or even before you started your studies.
Yeah, 100%. There was a dude who was in construction, or like it was a concrete roller.
Oh, yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, and he had a really good story, and it inspired me. Like I was like, man, like this dude's like giving out inspiration for everyone. Like, and I felt good after that. I was like, oh, okay, so if this person can do it, then like I can do it, so.
And it's so good to hear, because as I said at the start of the podcast, the whole point of this is to hear people's stories, genuine stories from genuine people who have done, things that people potentially don't think are doable for themselves, right? We want to break down those misconceptions, so you don't even have to know if you want to decide to change careers after 15 years. You don't have to be in the one industry the rest of your life. You can change careers. Everything is a skill. And if you dedicate your time and you focus, you're living proof that you can upskill yourself, right? And so that's really good to hear. That's the whole point of having, the podcast, is to listen to some of the student stories, gain motivation from that. And if it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, then that's fine, right? That's the whole point of the podcast, is to really educate people. So that's amazing. On the skills, you've smashed your studies. Let's talk about a little bit more about what, as I said at the start, what our listeners want to hear about, and that's some of the, I guess, key strategies that you implemented to ensure your success throughout your studies.
Like for me, like my hospitality job, but different working cafe hours, so 6 to 3. So I had that time in the afternoon to dedicate 3-4 hours each night to put the time in. I think that was the most important thing. Is just like if you're hungry for it, you're gonna get it. And that's what was always in the back of my head is, persistence. It's about how many hurdles you reach or how you overcome them or how to figure out how to go around them. Like it's the same with study. Like there's going to be times where it's just like you want to put the book down, you don't want to listen to anything. Do it. Go away for an hour. Go away for a day. Come back because you feel so much more refreshed afterwards. Like, and the knowledge actually sinks in more. The more you just try and just drill it into yourself, it's not going to end well.
Exactly. And that's, I think, one of the key strategies we implement with our support team and our students. Even if you are really engaged and you're listening to the lectures and you're jumping into the practice labs, even after probably 2.5 to 3 hours of sitting there, you're slowly going to start to zone out and not retain that information, and you are just wasting your time. But even on the flip side of that, if you're sitting there and you're frustrated, you've had a really bad day or some stuff's going on, or there's a bunch of noise in the background and you're just doing it to do it, like there's no intent behind it, then again, you're wasting your time. So I think what I'm getting from that is study with intent and enjoy the process of learning, because you, like everybody else, it's not all sunshine and roses for the 6 months that you study, right? There's going to be times where you work a hard day and you've got to go, okay, I need to refocus here and put the time in to upskill myself and study. Tell us about those periods for you, because that's the stuff I want to talk about. Like, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Tell us a little bit about some of the tougher periods you went through with your studies and how you turned that around.
Like that was very, it was a bit like a kick in the guts to be like, why am I doing this? Like, why? But, like then I think, like I can do this. I don't care if I have to take this 10 times. And if on the 11th time I get it, I'm going to get it. So that's that whole persistence again of like staying at it. After the first two, I kind of changed my like study approach a little. Like also went out and bought other resources that would help me more, not with just the content that Cybersecurity provided. I also went and bought the actual CompTIA books of like A+, Security+, and I found that reading and applying myself to a book, I can take in a bit more than listening to lectures sometimes. I just felt was better. So, yeah,
amazing, mate. And now look at you, done your certifications, and you look back on that and look at how much you've grown and how much you've pushed through some of those tougher times.
Yeah.
And now you can reap all the benefits. What were some of the good times though? Talk us about some of the stuff that you really enjoyed throughout your studying.
Just like the knowledge aspect, as well as like understanding a lot more of computers, like all the protocols and everything that you can put in place, like just understanding of it. Like there's so much more in depth about it. Like I just feel like I've got a better understanding of things. I get my dad asking me, like, 'cause he runs like he runs a hotel kind of thing, and he's kind of got a bit of a network happening. And he's like, "Oh, can you come in and just like have a look and try secure some things and just make I'm like, yeah, I can cancel off supports and all that. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, like knowing like that and just like making sure his firewall's up to date and he's got all the right,
You got to start charging out. You got to start charging out for that.
Yeah.
I often joke with our students as well. Like after at least the bare minimum, right? After doing these certifications, even before you finish and before you apply for roles, your first job's going to be the IT technician or IT support for your family.
Yeah. It's always been like that with mum and dad as well. They're always like, "Oh, can you fix my computer? Or can you look at my computer?" And I always thought that's, like I said to you about going back to IT, I always thought that was like the thing that was in the back. So yeah, no, it's cool. It's great having an understanding of like knowing what these things actually mean now. And like, big wins, man. Like you gotta take small wins as well. And that's just like making sure that you pass your exam. Like it's hard, it's difficult. Anxiety is like 100% up there, but like
the big one.
If you prepare yourself well, like you should be able to execute well. So, they say in hospitality, poor, poor preparation equals piss poor performance.
Yep.
So if you're not prepared, you're not ready.
Exactly. And I think the main one is that, like, you're building it up for your first exam and you're really nervous, you're not sure of the process, and you can sometimes let those nerves overwhelm you. It's just about trusting the process, right? I think is one of the main things that is really, really simple. And so I just want to touch on, you obviously didn't have any IT skills, cybersecurity experience, certifications at all leading into this. Were you nervous about that? Like, I'm going to learn a whole new skill set here?
Yeah, part of me was, but it was excitement as well, because it's like the learning aspect. It's like, man, like where can this take me? Like, that's how I see it. Like, same with hospitality. Like, where's the best restaurant I can end up working in? Like, now I said it's like, where's the next IT job that's going to make me learn and be the best version of myself that I can be, or the best analyst that I want to be. Like, because that's my next goal, is like to be the best analyst, or whatever job role I end up, is just, like making sure that I do my best and do it 100%.
Amazing, mate. You have to say this all the time. I feel like I must say it every episode. But in order to enjoy and have a really prosperous career in cybersecurity, you have to enjoy learning new things. Like, almost each and every year, whether you're doing another certificate or cybersecurity strategies change, you have to be a lifelong learner. If you're not, it looks at counting you out for this industry. You have to enjoy learning, and you clearly do, mate. So I think you're really good. So now you finish your studies. Talk us through what you're going through. Just for the listeners, give them a little bit of an insight as to what happens, Cyber Revolution student, when you finish your studies. You're now going through a bit of a process to get yourself job ready, and you've already applied for a couple of jobs.
Yeah, just trying to put my best resume out there, just learning from what other people are saying. You guys have put in place like good systems as well to talk to people who help you out with that as well, which I think is amazing. So, I guess it's just like that process again now. Like, we're in December, so it's not peak hiring season. But like, I feel I'm not, like, for me, I'm not putting any expectations on landing a role at the end of the year. Like, I'm more or less looking forward to what next year brings. I feel like that'll be the time to kickstart this new career. So it's been good. Like, it feels good. Just trust the process.
Yeah. As I think you're going through that period now where you finish your studies. I think you might have had a session with Hugo, one of our team members here, that helps out prepare your resume. Your LinkedIn's now looking good. And now we're just getting you job ready for peak hiring season, right? Which is in the first quarter of the calendar year next year. And so that's really, really exciting. We're prepping you for that. And so, mate, I guess moving on to the final question, what are your top 3 tips for somebody that is, potentially sitting on the fence about this? They might have been in industry for 15 years and they're thinking it might be a little bit too late to change careers, or they're a little bit nervous and the fact they can't upskill. What would you say to that person? What would be your top 3 tips?
1, never too late. 2, do your homework. Just, like, look around, hear about what people are saying. And I feel like 3, I would say, just do it. And, like, give it a shot. Like, if this is something you want to do, and, you as a person can make it happen.
I think that third one, just do it, is, I would say, 9 out of 10 people that I have on this, on the podcast, and I ask them for their 3 top tips. Probably the best tip you can give, and it's the most simple. But it's often one that holds a lot of people back. If you were to listen to all of the podcasts and the same question that I ask everyone, they would almost all say, just do it, right? No one regrets it, all right?
Yeah.
Just jump in, lean into it. As you said, enjoy learning new skills. And I think it's, a really good bit of advice. So thanks, Saul. And I think you've given a little bit of a different perspective in this episode of your experience and now the anticipation of getting into a new career, I think. And I think it's an episode that'll really stand out and help a lot of people and help a lot of our current students as well. So I really appreciate you taking out the time, mate.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Always. We're going to have you on again, maybe 6 or 12 months in, once you're in the industry and you've got some more knowledge to let everyone know about, mate. So, guys, if you are listening and you did get a lot of value out of it, please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to know a little bit more about the placement program that Saul's going through at the moment, all you need to do is head to cyberrevolution.com.au, leave your details there, and someone from the team will be in touch. Thanks for listening.